What's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again from metaltrenches.com, and it is time to discuss the new album from avant-garde YouTube and pop underground sensation Poppy with her first metal album via Sumerian Records. But before I do that, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you enjoy the content, please do like the video, share it, and stick around for a lot more. Now, as I mentioned in my reaction videos, I'm actually on board when it comes to artists attempting to cross over into heavier music. While the actual successes tend to be pretty few and far between, the benefits are really twofold. One, when things go right, we end up with exciting new voices like Merkur, and two, even the so-called failures draw more potential listeners to better artists in the genre. So enter the latest example, Poppy. And this situation feels particularly unique to me, as she perhaps is best known, at least by the general public, I don't want to make the diehard fans angry here, for her history as a somewhat bizarre YouTube personality and meme, more so than her music at this point. But again, I consider myself to be extremely open-minded to anything and everything these days. Starting with the more obvious pros of I Disagree, Poppy has a solid singing voice. It has a soothing and sometimes even hypnotic quality that creates an interesting counterpoint to the heavier instrumentation. You can be anyone you want to be. You can be free. Don't sing bad may seem like an obvious rule number one for starting a music project, but if I had a dime for every artist who violated it, I'd be a pretty rich man. Even her syncopated, almost death gripsy rap vocals on the likes of I Disagree and Bloodmoney are well performed, and though they'll likely turn off many who prefer to stay far away from that sound, they never come off as cringy to me. The other major pro is the clear level of unbounded creativity that more often than not leads to something undoubtedly unique. From the very beginning of Concrete, we're treated to a seriously impressive display of genre fusion within just over a minute's time. Electronic beats and whispered vocals suddenly give way to Slipknot-esque guitars before quickly transitioning once more to a very J-pop Babymetal singing portion. Then there's a straight-up pit-worthy breakdown, followed by a Queen-like guitar solo, and then another singing part straight out of a Beatles album. And what's even more exemplary about all of this is that these transitions are pretty seamless. Despite the marked tonal differences, it all oddly makes sense. This eclectic approach is pervasive across the entire album, from the Marilyn Manson meets Tegan and Sara vibes of Fill the Crown, to the xylophone and horn-infused nu metal and gent of Bite Your Teeth. Bless her soul, there's even a pretty solid blech on the latter. Now, when it comes down to it, I'd be lying if I said I loved every single moment of this album. But ultimately, even these parts were more of a difference in personal preference than an actual drop in quality. Case in point, Nothing I Need and Sick of the Sun are perfectly servable Tay-Tay-esque pop songs. They're just not really my style. Likewise, Sit Stay had me tapping my foot quite a bit despite shying away from any metal elements at all, really. I'll take an album of consistently well-orchestrated and performed tracks that may just not be for me, over an album from one of my favorite subgenres filled with generic subpar compositions and performances. All said and done, I feel the need to ask something, and I know that the naysayers are probably going to crucify me for saying it, but is Poppy's artistic direction really all that dissimilar from the likes of Psy? And if you find yourself hating this, is it objectively because you think the music is bad? Or is it just because it's an outsider doing things differently than maybe what the rulebook says? I mean, Poppy herself isn't even really describing this as a metal album. She's calling it post-genre, which may sound conceited to some, but honestly, I can't think of anything more metal than that, because to me, metal is all about bucking convention and saying fuck you to the rulebook, and this album absolutely does that. So for me, I call I Disagree a great success. It's about an 8 for enjoyability for me. In fact, maybe on repeat listens, I might even upgrade that to a 9 later. But in any case, I was consistently entertained, though at certain points more than others. The musicianship is also worthy of a 9 for sure. It's not necessarily a top tier technical menagerie, but the impressive diversity and great soloing stand well above what I expected. And as for innovation, I honestly have to give this album a 10. While there are plenty of reference points scattered throughout to other projects and bands, you will genuinely not hear another complete product that sounds quite like this album as a whole. So there you have it. Averaged out a nice solid 9, Poppy gets an A-.
Fight me, haters!
And just on one final note, here's something else I want you to consider. Poppy is about as niche as any other project I review here on the channel. She's not like some mainstream pop artist like Beyonce or again the aforementioned Taylor Swift. In fact, she's probably less well known than some of the bigger metal bands I've covered on this channel. But here's the thing, her followers are engaged, diehard loyalists, which is why any Poppy related video I do gets at least 10 times the views and engagement. Success of a project is ultimately driven by numbers, and those numbers are driven by you. Personally, I don't care about all that. I cover whatever music interests me the most, the stuff that I hear and it just sparks a lot of ideas and things I want to talk about. And this is probably often to the detriment of my channel's possible growth. But you can't really sit there and complain when someone like Poppy does better than your favorite new album, because it's the fan base that needs to step up their game to boost that band's standing and reach. I do my best to spark an interest, but it's that viral word of mouth from you watching that really sets the fire. But anyways, now it's your turn. I'm really interested to hear down in the comments what you think about this. Why do you love it? Why do you hate it? Why am I wrong? Why are you now unsubscribing from my channel because I'm a complete poser? By all means, let me know. And then also, even more importantly, who do you want me to cover next? Who do you want to hear me talk about? Let's keep the conversation going. And another way you can do that too is if you hop down the description, there's links to all of our social media where you can follow us there. You can also sign up for our mailing list, which is a great way to keep up to date with everything that's going on at metaltrenches.com. But really, thanks as always for listening. I really appreciate it. The best thing you can do, again, is like the video if you enjoyed it, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and again, I gotta make a plea to you returning viewers who continue to feel like you're getting an added value from these videos and all the content of this channel, then by all means, again in the description, consider donating even just $1 a month to our Patreon or Subscribe Star. It really makes a difference. Also stick around, plenty of other videos like this one, the Bands That Changed My Life series, album reviews, the podcast, so on and so forth. But for now, this is Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.
Slayer.